as you know, I think a few of you do, I'm Ruth and I'm creative buying retail consultant, and I'm also an educator. I've been teaching recently and doing more teaching, which is great. So I help and guide, support retail makers, retail brands, designer makers and retailers, and it's really fruitful. And I know that it really helps, and pretty much because I've come from a corporate background. It seems, sometimes it seems like yesterday, but it was 10 years ago. And also I've ran my own brand, so I can I do understand that, there are aspects, there are definitely aspects of coming from the corporate side and then building all that information and using those systems and processes that I've learned as a buyer, and then helping designer makers and retail brands and small retailers. And it is mainly independents that I work for, although, I have done bigger projects. But my passion is to help designer makers, to help people who are really creative, who've got that amazing skill to create and have a whole, a beautiful story and amazing process, creative process that I don't have. I'm not a maker. Yes, I sew. There is my creative side, but I feel that I have learned those some little nuggets, being in working globally, manufacturing, and working with people like yourselves, people designer makers on the ground, especially at Fortnum's. You're very much working with independent labels and smaller people. So as I say, that the things that I talk about and the things that I put into practice and help designer makers with really work. It is built on fact and built on lots of work that I've done throughout the years. So this morning, I was going to quickly, because I don't want to stay on too long. I can wrap it on because I love what I do. But I thought I'd focus on one of my favorites, which is, and a few of you who work with me or have been taught by me will think, here she goes again, talking about customer profile. But I really do believe that it's so beneficial to have a customer profile. It's kind of where you really need to start. It's a way of speaking to your customer. So particularly as we're going to be online, a real online focus for the next 4 weeks, that you need to have, or it's better to have a tone of voice that will link to your customers. So you're speaking in a way to your customers that they understand, that within this tone of voice that they're going to connect with, engage with, and think, I totally get what you're talking about, or wow, yes, of course, that's what I believe in, that's the values that I uphold. So I'm going to offer a bit of a plug, but I'm going to offer, I've got to put a customer profile PDF that I always talk about in my teaching and in my workshop. So Nicola, I know you were on my workshop. It's just a persona that you look at. So, and the reason why we do this is because then you have somebody who you can call by a name, and their age, where they live, whether they're rural, whether they're urban, what salary they've got, brackets of salary, so what budget they've got to spend on your brand. And then there's their habits. What do they go to the gym? Do they really love going to craft fairs? Brilliant, because that is your customer. So once you start to build up their sort of psychological habits and their demographic and geographic, you then have a greater understanding of how to speak to your customer. So I've got that as a PDF, and if you sign up to my newsletter, and those of you that already signed up to my newsletter, brilliant, because I'm going to be sending that out over this weekend, hopefully. And but that's where you can just print off and fill out. So that's kind of, so you're thinking, what's the name of this person? Is it going to be, is she a Susan? Is she a Monica? Is he a Giles or is he a Dave? It's connotations, isn't it, of like who this person is. So if you start to write, but if like a lot of creatives, and I myself very visual, if you need to have that visual, then magazines are really great to start tearing, ripping up, and kind of thinking, where is this Monica that I was there she is, so have a look in Vogue, have a look in Living, etc. Have a look online if you don't have the massive magazines that I have here. Have a look online. Pinterest is really good for just, and just check out male 45 and or female 24. It's that sort of try and get really specific, and then start to scroll through, have a look at this person you're starting to build, and then create a board. So put my customer profile, be really specific, and so that you can start to build up on who this is. And then when you look at all the other characteristics, you can then start to write them down, and then you're building up where they shop. So if it is Giles, is he a Gucci, but he also shops in Waitrose, but he really likes handmade, but actually he doesn't really care about sustainability, or he should do, or it's kind of, you can start to build up who this person is. So create a board either online using Pinterest. You can have a look at my Pinterest. I've got quite a few boards, and I know that it's really key to have an image of who you're making for, who you're speaking to. So create a board, or create a physical board with your tears from all your magazines, and then put it up. Put it near where you work, just so that in every decision that you're making, so even when it comes to your photography, because brand representation, so how you represent your product, is so important, especially in the next few weeks, because this is the first thing that people will see is your product. So how you're laying out your cutouts, how you're laying your lifestyle shots. Does Giles, I'm using Giles, will Giles really connect with how I've put that? So it could be that you just have really simple props, but if you know that Giles and your brand is quite a luxury brand, then use a prop that connects, that associates with that customer profile. Because, customer profiling, although sometimes people will think, this is quite a lot of work and I just want to get on with it. Well, yeah, get on with it, but don't see yourself as the customer, which a lot of people do. You aren't the customer. I know you're making, or you're buying in to sell, or you're printing on, or, whether you're manufacturing or you're buying in yourself and selling, you're not the customer. So especially as well when it comes to pricing, that I know that people sort of undervalue a lot of their work because they think I'm the customer. Well, this will really help with so much. And no doubt I'll be talking more about this in the next few weeks. But I just wanted to start off with this really crucial tool of customer profiling. Hi to my lovely Rachel Lionheart. Hello. I know you do lots of lives, Rachel, and this is my first one. So the reason I bang on about customer profiles so much is because the industry is really focusing on D2C, which is direct to consumer. It's big brands, it's smaller, it's designer makers like yourselves. That the focus and the growth area is in direct to consumer, which is, it is for the smaller brands, for the smaller businesses, for the micro businesses that we are. It's even more, it's heightened even more so because you guys are so, what's the word? You're so, every day you're connecting and every day you're chatting to on Instagram, and you've got that whole, you've got that direct connection. So it's really important that because it's not just you're not just selling to your customers now, you're selling to customers out there who you want to try and pull in. And if you understand who your target customer is and who your ideal customer is, then, then it just becomes easier. So if you think about, so you're starting off thinking who is, so either you're just starting on your brand. I know from who I've seen that's coming on, there's quite a few of you who are already established. Hey, Brighton Beards, hello. So if you already know your customer, great. So the way to look at how you know your customer is to use some data. So use your sales, have a look at your product performance. What are your best sellers? And then look who's buying those. So you'll have a top 10 of people who always come back to you. And look at them. You can find out information, and I'm not saying really pry into people's lifestyles, but actually there is social media ways of, there's an easy way of looking into somebody who is your customers and just finding more about them. We're not big brothering here, we're just finding out little bits and because these are the people that we're talking to on a regular basis. So this is your target customer. And then if you're just starting out, your ideal customer is based on where you're positioning your brand. So are you going to be value? Are you going to be mid? Are you going to be a luxury brand, premium? Or are you still trying to work that out? So you're testing the waters. So maybe do customer focus, do some surveys, find out, throw some product out there on Instagram and find out what people come back with, and have a look at the really positive views that you get back, and really listen to what your customers are saying, so that when it comes to looking at your ranges, will it be a focus for your customer if you bring in a range a certain price point? And again, we'll be talking about ranges in a couple of weeks. So anything else I can say about customer profile other than, they're so important. I think I use a little, and I know it's used a lot in marketing, but you wouldn't get in a car and start driving with your eyes closed. So that's pretty much what a customer profile is. How can you speak to your customer? How can you create a product? How can you create these amazing gifts that we're going to create in the next 6 weeks? How could you pull all that together when you don't even know who you're selling to? Do they like something that comes in a really beautiful box that has masses of packaging? Well, they might not like that. They might not be into packaging. You might have such a sustainable value that it's not about the packaging. So these little, little highlights and little focuses of your product and your brand, your marketing, your pricing, all comes back to customer profile. So yeah, if you haven't already subscribed to my newsletter, then please go ahead and do that, because I have a PDF that I can send you. Equally, I do these sessions with brands, and we could always I do power hours, and then I do 2-hour intensive consultations. So this is something that I can personally tailor-made and work with you on this. Equally, I have an idea of doing a video of me actually pulling one together. So if I've got time, I really want to do something like that, because I think it'd be great to for you to see how I would pull a customer profile together. So, I'll look to do that. But in the meantime, I found a quote this morning that I thought, well, that's quite nice. But yeah, so the quote is, it's people do not buy goods and services, they buy relations, stories and magic. And on Monday, I really want to focus on those relations, stories and magic. So we'll talk more about brand. Thanks, Claire, for that. We'll talk more about your brand positioning and your why, and what it is that your amazing creative process that you can get out there. And it's the story that you're telling that will really grab and engage your customer. So get on doing your customer profiles this weekend, and thank you so much everybody for joining today. I've really enjoyed it. and I will see you on Monday. Cheers. Bye.